We move on to the third Imam, or the third Mu'allif, which is, or who is, Imam Abu Daawood, who is the author of Sunan Abi Daawood. So ismuhu, his name, and as I say, I hope this benefits many of you to have an introduction to the understanding of a hadith, and to the students of knowledge who study this, the same muqarrar, the same content. Ismuhu Sulaiman bin al-Ash'ath bin Ishaq bin Bashir al-Azdi al-Sijistani. And Sijistan is the current location of Sijistan is somewhere in Iran, modern day Iran. Sijistan is there. So his name is Sulaiman bin al-Ash'ath. Al-Ash'ath was his father, Sulaiman is his name, and As-Sijistani. He was born ولد في 202 in Sijistan. 202, he was born in 202 Hijrah. He was born in 202 Hijrah, and he first traveled in 220 to Baghdad. He traveled. So as we've been learning through Imam Malik, Imam Malik remained in Medina because the ilm was in Medina at the time. But as we learned through Imam Bukhari and Muslim, and you learn through the remaining three A'immah, At-Tirmidhi, An-Nasa'i, and Ibn Majah, you learn that they travel for ilm. Okay, they don't just sit in one place and expect everything to come to them. And that's you could say, as in, I wouldn't say it's an issue, as in learning online is fine, but there is something different in going out of the comfort of your own home and actually striving to learn ilm, because that's where the blessings take place, that's where the hardships and sacrifices have to happen, and that's what effectively raises one's status. So you learn that they all traveled for ilm, okay, and they traveled far and wide. Especially taking into account there was no aeroplanes at that time. It's not like a 2-hour flight to Baghdad or 3 hours to Egypt or whatever it is. The transport was different at the time. So he first traveled in 220. So he was, how old was he then? If he was born in 202, he was 18 years old when he traveled to Baghdad. Then he traveled to Basra, and then after that he traveled to many places: Al-Iraq, Al-Sham, Misr, which is Egypt, and the remaining areas of Khurasan, which is Sijistan would have been in Khurasan at that time, and Hijaz. He remained in. He went to live in Basra, and he remained in Basra towards the end of his time. So he, let me just confirm, he passed away in Basra. Okay, yeah, he passed away in Basra. From the most famous of his shuyukh, so that's the tartib we're following, was Ali bin al-Madini, Ishaq bin Rahiway, Qutaynah bin Sa'id al-Balkhi, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, so many of you would have heard that name, Muhammad bin Bashar, Muhammad bin al-Muthanna, and Yahya bin Muayyan. So these are his most famous teachers, and you could say he took a lot from Ishaq bin Rahiway. From the most famous of his students, so obviously these A'immah, they have many teachers, so we just mentioned the most famous, or the most the ones that they took from the most. And same with the students, they have many students, hundreds and many hundreds of students, but the most famous of his students was his son. So his son went on to be a scholar, Ibnuhu Abu Bakr As-Sijistani, or Abu Bakr bin Sulaiman. Why bin Sulaiman? Because Sulaiman is Abu Dawood's actual name. So Abu Dawood is his kunya. So we have, so for example, At-Tirmidhi is Abu Isa. So Abu Dawood is Sulaiman As-Sijistani, and his son Ibnuhu Abu Bakr was one of his students. And then you have Abu Isa At-Tirmidhi, so we'll learn about him in the next episode. Abu Abdurrahman An-Nasa'i, who is the fifth Imam in this sort of series. We have Abu Awana Al-Isfira'ili, Abu Bakr bin Abi Dunya, Abu Bakr bin Dasa, Abu Bakr Ali al-Lu'lu'i, and Abu Sa'id bin al-Arabi. So from the most famous of his shuyukh, we have Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, Ali bin al-Madini, Ishaq bin Rahawayh, Muhammad bin Bashar. And from some of his most famous students, his son Ibnuhu Abu Bakr, Abu Iwana al-Isfira'ili. Okay, I might be saying some of these words wrong because, as mentioned, my teacher, he just literally dictates and we have to, quickly write it down. So I might have pronounced or written some of these, or I might be pronouncing them wrong. I might have written them correctly, inshallah. But if I do make any mistakes, then leave a comment in the comments down below, especially you muhaddithun that are listening to this. Abu Isa at-Tirmidhi, Abu Abdurrahman an-Nasa'i. In terms of his position, in terms of ilm, and some of the ulamas, what they had to say about him, we have الإمام حاكم قال الإمام حاكم أبو داود إمام أهل حديث في عصره بلا مدافعة. Okay. Moreover, we have قال الذهبي said الإمام شيخ السنة مقدم الحفاظ كان أبو داود مع إمامته في الحديث وفنونه من كبار الفقهاء. So effectively, he's one of the leaders in ahadith, and he's from the scholars of fiqh. Another one that I really like is Musa bin Harun. He said, خلق أبو داود في الدنيا للحديث. Abu Dawud was created in the dunya for hadith, وفي الآخرة للجنة إن شاء الله تعالى, and in the hereafter for Jannah. Subhanallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rahimahullahu rahmatan wasi'an. قال أبو بكر الصاغاني ألين لأبي داود كما ألين لداود عليه السلام الحديد. So these are some of the scholars' sayings of Imam Abu Dawud. In terms of his عقيدة كان على مذهب السلف في اتباع السنة والتسليم لها, mentioned by al-Dhahabi. مؤلفاته, so his books, his authored works, which is of course the most famous, which we'll discuss very shortly, As-Sunan, which is Sunan Abi Dawud. From his other books we have Al-Marasil, okay, which is the Jam' of Mursal. We have Kitab al-Zuhd. We have Risala ila Ahli Makkah, which we learn that is actually the letter to the people of Mecca was actually the muqaddimah, the introduction of As-Sunan, which is Sunan Abi Dawud. سؤالات أبي داود للإمام أحمد في الفقه والحديث والجرح والتعديل. So he's got a book which are his questions to Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. سؤالات لأبي داود في الجرح والتعديل. And he had other books as well, which unfortunately did not reach us. توفي Abu Dawud passed away in 275 في بصرة. So he passed away in 275, which therefore makes his age, if he was born in 202, 275 less 202 gives us 73 years old. He passed away, and he was the muhaddith of Basra at the time, rahimahullahu rahmatan wasi'atan. We move on to the kitab, so understanding the kitab, which is Sunan Abi Dawud. As mentioned, this book did not have an introduction, rather it had a risala, a letter to the people of Mecca, and the actual name is As-Sunan. Okay, so simply the name is As-Sunan, no more, no less. Obviously, Ushtuhira is become famous with the name Sunan Abi Dawud. Why? Because As-Sunan is actually a category of types of books in a hadith. So you have Al-Jawami', Al-Muwatta, As-Sunan, and the other three books that are remaining, At-Tirmidhi, An-Nasa'i, and Ibn Majah, they are also treated or classed as As-Sunan. So therefore, Sunan Abi Dawud, to be clear. He structured his book in terms of the different elements of ilm. So you have tahara, salah, etc. And he did not take from a man عن رجل متروك الحديث. Okay. Moreover, sorry, my notes are a bit all over the place on this bit, so just bear with me.